Good Friday, my friends. Hands down, I absolutely love the insurance industry. It has, in recent years, become such a dynamic and fulfilling industry to work in. However, as much as I understand what great career options there are, we are really struggling to bring in outstanding new talent and on many levels convince them what many of us already know. How are we going to figure this out? How are we going to fix this problem? Excuse me. I couldn't help but overhear your concerns, Joe. Oh, hey, why? Everybody, this is insurance. Why? What are you up to? I'm here to tell you to relax. You are doing exactly what needs to be done. You're having more conversations about the career opportunities in insurance and bringing in guests that are much smarter than you to talk about them. Whoa, easy, why? It's kind of a cheap shot. Just calling them like I see them, Joe. Well, in that case, why? Let's get on with bringing smarter people to teach us all about the new era of insurance opportunities. How does that sound? It's scramble time. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello.
Hello. I definitely got to work in my Paulie accent.
Well, I thank you. Thank you for letting me know. So Paulie from Rocky?
Rocky, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like Paulie from, it's like a Philly, East Coast Philly, old Manhattan, Brooklyn neighborhood / Southerner trying to figure it out. So,
yeah. But insurance, why? Like when I expected to talk about your insurance, why, I honestly didn't think it was going to be a Sesame Street character.
Well, Sesame Street does it great with the letter of the day. And I don't know, I just thought that would be kind of a fun trick. But welcome, everybody. It is Friday. Couldn't think of a better place to be than right here, right now. Insurance Scramble Live. He is Alex DePazzo. I am Joe Hollier. We're so grateful, so thankful you're here and so ready to get on with this show. If you are joining us live, there is a chat box open. Feel free to put in your comments, your thoughts. I would love to hear what you do in this profession, this industry. I personally am an agent when I'm not doing the Insurance Scramble Live. Alex, how about you? What do you do in the beautiful insurance industry?
I follow everything that Joe Hollier does. Why? I mean, that's...
Okay. You're funny. So yeah, it's all about us and career opportunities and what's out there. And I can't think of a better person to start with, a better guest to start with than our first guest today, who really came in at an interesting transition in this industry because we're all starting to shift. We're all starting to do things a little bit differently. Please help me welcome on the screen, Digital Media Director of JAG Insurance, Mr. Juan Lopez.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe. Alex, pleasure to be here.
Great to see you, man. You and I have talked a bunch via email, but it's been a long time coming. It's so great to actually get on screen with you. Next to being in person in South Beach and hanging out, it's probably the next best thing. But great to have you. Thanks for spending a little bit of time with us. I'm going to get right into it.
Sure.
JAG, at least for me, JAG in many ways has paved the road in connecting kind of the independent insurance agent or channel with digital multimedia. You've been doing this for a while. Can you kind of share with us, because as a digital media director, that's not something you think of associated with an insurance agency. Kind of give us your entry into it, and at which point did you realize you're going all in on this?
Okay, so I'll try not to be too long-winded.
Okay.
Before I got to JAG, I worked at 2 prior insurance companies, an underwriting company and one of the big alphabet agencies. One of the big agencies. I graduated from Florida International University with an English Lit degree and a minor in professional and public writing. So I got to JAG, but I worked at JAG in an administrative function. So I was doing endorsements, I was filing claims, I was doing all this type of stuff. As the guys got to know me, Lewis, Doug, Fernie, they discovered that, I was, if I can say this, I was good at writing. They discovered all my skills while I was working in the administrative stuff. They went to meet with VaynerMedia, Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. They took a speculative meeting just to kind of see what it was all about. They entered into their mentors program. They came down to meet with them here in Miami, some of Gary V's people. They met me at a happy hour and got me talking. And what I didn't know is that they were actually evaluating me to see if I could do this. Long story short, I passed the test despite drinking.
That probably kept you calmer. And,
Yeah. Well, I think the drinking and the fact that I didn't know it was happening is what kept me calm. And I was the founder, so to speak, of the digital media department. And we went full on January 2019, so it's been 2 years now. Since then, 2 people have joined the department. Shout out to my teammates Luis Montejo, Johnny Benitez. They're the guys who handle the camera work and the editing, and I'm more on the creative side, coming up with some ideas, the distributing of content, all the logistical stuff. But it's been kind of crazy. Jag decided to go all in from the beginning, and it's kind of scary because your ROI at first is not really there. You don't know. Even though there's entire industry now behind social media, it's still relatively new.
mm-hmm.
It's still relatively new. What's your ROI? How many clients and customers are you really getting? Because the thing about the insurance industry with social media, right, is if you're selling hats, how many hats you're selling through Instagram and Twitter and all this other stuff, because there's, people are clicking the links, buying the product. With insurance, it's like how many people are coming in through, social media stuff. But I think it's helped us get a lot of attention and differentiate us in a lot of ways.
So, I'm going to jump in there because you brought some really interesting points. And somebody that was there before the digital media team, and you've seen the evolution of it. Now you're taking control of it and you're running your own production company, basically within the confines of an agency, right? So that's a really interesting aspect of it. But, what is it that now you're seeing emerge? I mean, I agree. It's hard to determine the ROI on it. So maybe what you're maybe you can't physically see in metrics, you're getting the attention. I mean, you guys are getting tons of attention. And that to me just tells me you become a household name. And I would imagine even more so in your local region.
Correct. Yeah. So it's funny because it's all about branding, really. I always say that my ultimate goal is to make the Jag Shield as recognizable as a Nike check or a McDonald's Golden Arches, because I want people to just see the shield and not even have to see the Jag next to it. They already know it's Jag. Mm-hmm. And, I have 3 bosses that are very, supportive and open. It's very brave, for lack of a better term, to give someone the keys to your brand of a company that you're building. But I think, so Luis Gazatua, one of the principals here, always tells a story about how he would go into a meeting and they would say, "We really like you guys, but," and he's like, "I want to eliminate the but," because the but was, you guys, I have corporate masters. You guys are not well known. You're not one of these bigger agencies with a national presence. So, I have to go with the known commodity. Mm-hmm. So what's my main objective is making Jag a known commodity, which, is happening. A lot of people recognize the content. Last night I was in a Zoom meeting for something that I do in the community, and someone mentioned one of the videos, and they're like, "Oh, this was so great." And it's you really don't know, because sometimes people watch it and don't comment, or they watch it and don't like it, but they watch it, they know what's happening. And I think that there's, particularly in the insurance industry, right, we have a reputation for being boring, but there's nothing boring about you and me, right, Joe? Like,
well, it's beautiful because insurance has now become accessible to people that have creative sides. Before I was in this industry, I was in music. I was a sound engineer. I really had a creative element that I wanted to dig into all the time. And I felt so stagnant and blocked when I got into insurance. I'm like, now what I'm going to do, this is very boring, like now I can't, my creative juices need an outlet, right? And I'm just getting stuck. Before I let you go, I really appreciate your time, Juan. As somebody who's all in on the digital media, you pay attention to a lot of things, I'm sure, that are going on around you and in the industry. What are maybe some of the roles that you can share real quick on some of the emerging jobs or roles that you're starting to see within digital? Maybe that has nothing to do with insurance other than telling a good story and great production.
Oh, well, I think that we're going to get to a point over the next decade where any insurance agency or any company, whether you're a real estate company, whether you're selling a product, whatever it may be, you should probably have a content creator on staff. Now, it's right here we have three people, right, that have diverse abilities, and we kind of, our creativity flows into each other. But I think once you get to a certain size and you want to compete in whatever industry you might be in, you should have a content creator on staff, because you're going to want to get in. And listen, there's just right now, in the first months of 2021, we're already seeing stuff like Clubhouse and other platforms that are coming in. You had TikTok exploding last year because everyone was stuck at home looking for stuff to do. And there will continue to be new platforms. We could get to a point where Instagram is not the main avenue for content. You're going to want someone who is adaptable, and you're going to want someone who is creative on your staff, even if you think that your industry, like let's say insurance, is not a creative one.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, it's going to be more and more about branding, authenticity, and transparency. People want to know the people that they're buying stuff from. People want to know the people they're doing business from. And you're going to want to be the driving force behind getting that information to people.
Yeah. He is Juan Lopez, Digital Media Director of JAG Insurance. If you haven't checked it out, check him out. I implore you. He's leading the way. He's the pioneer. They're the pioneer in creating amazing content in the insurance space. Juan, I can't thank you enough for being here today, man.
No, thank you, Joe. I look forward to doing this again anytime I will come on the Insurance Scramble.
Appreciate you, Juan. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, buddy. Take care. Yeah, their content's been great for a long time, and it really shows you what you can do.
It's not just the content; it's the story. He came into the industry with one mindset, one idea, one projected path, and then, because of the foresight of the folks who are at management at that particular agency, they were able to shift and retain an extremely talented, extremely important individual into the industry that's helping their business grow. It's helping change the perception not only of their agency here in the local area, but getting them attention nationally. I mean, how often do you hear about like insurance and Gary Vee in the same sentence?
Right. Just through JAG.
well, just through the innovative thinking and saying, and trying to attract folks, or seeing talent in individuals that maybe didn't necessarily quite fit the job description they originally applied for. Right. And talking about that, I put a call out there for some folks, and I wanted to give a shout out real quick to Michael Poporo, who's watching on YouTube, who, I asked him what he does for it, and he's a professional liability coverage specialist, which, we know what that means, right? But the average person out there might not. These are the type of people who are working with doctors and lawyers. They're working with architects, engineers, environmental, so many different types of interesting businesses. And Mike's getting an opportunity to do that. And Robin Johnson, also middle market commercial underwriter. Someone who's working with good sized businesses. They're going into, some of these underwriters even go visit some of these businesses. I mean, these are great roles within the industry. And a lot of opportunity.
Great to have all you guys on the show. And, something else we like to do, because we like to have a little bit of fun here on the Insurance Scramble, and that's help showcase, or at least start to showcase, some non-insurance talent by industry professionals. So without further ado, Alex, if you'd queue up, we reached out to a friend of ours, asked for a little sample. Hope you enjoy. Can't beat a little AC/DC to drive us into the weekend. Thank you, Nick Ayers, for that. And by the way, it's open to anybody that that our friends, our peers, our colleagues, any of you guys who want to share your non-insurance talent. We would love to pass that on to our greater community. It's fun. It allows us to get to know each other on a little bit different levels in our interests. So by all means, keep that in mind.
Well, just to because I think it fits the conversation real quick. So this was a quick comment that we got that said that I look like I'm trapped in some type of subterranean insurance geek enclosure.
That's your new tagline.
Thank you, Mr. Bill
If you
Wilson.
can put that on a business card, that would be amazing.
I actually might put it on my business card.
Yeah.
Thanks to him. But, I think that goes to talk about how, insurance folks tend to be very passionate about being in insurance. But I think that the momentary lapse of nonconformity is a reminder that just because we talk about insurance more probably than we should, we are normal people. We're regular people. We have a lot of love for a lot of things that have non-insurance.
All boring.
Well, Nick's definitely not boring.
Without further ado, we have a fantastic lineup, and we're going to continue this train, this AC/DC train, right down the rails here. Our next guest, we are also just incredibly pleased to bring on here. He is the Chief Motivational Officer at Insurance Nerds. He's puts out more content per capita than I think anybody I know. Please help us welcome Mr. Tony Cañas. How are you, sir?
Doing fantastic.
Ooh, I like
for having me. And if Bill Wilson is watching live, Bill,
yes, indeed. You're on deck with Bill Wilson.
I'm just learning how to play it.
Out of respect for you, Tony, I'm going to put on my red glasses so that we can make Alex feel like the odd man out here.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a red glasses club. I should have been.
It's always red when I'm around.
I don't know if you noticed, Tony, but Alex put on the Flash Gordon shirt in support of your superhero love.
Awesome.
But Tony, I love your content. I love just trying to keep up with all the things you're covering with recruiting and talent in the industry. From watching some of your stuff recently too, one of the main things I took away is that there's plenty of jobs in the insurance industry right now. There's plenty of availability. Why is recruitment so difficult, you think?
So nobody grows up wanting to work in insurance, right? We have not cracked that nut. We have not figured out how to get them interested in insurance from early on, right? We need to do a lot more work at the high school and college level to get them interested. So that's the first problem. Second problem is we are awful at hiring, and that goes for both entry level and for experience, right? So in my day job at Jacobson, I sell unicorns, right? So if somebody's coming to me, it's specifically because they have a hard to fill need and they're willing to pay somebody to stop the pain, and we go and we find them a unicorn. So they're looking for somebody super experienced. But the reality of it is, when I talk to super experienced talent, it takes them 6 to 9 months to find their next job within the industry. We're just slow at hiring. We're bad at hiring, and same thing goes for entry level. For example, I love the story of course I can't think of his name right now. I made a video about him recently, but anyway, so this guy calls me in for career advice, and he has a college degree. He can live anywhere in the States. He's traveling when he gave me a call. Eric Kropp. And he's like, I'll take any insurance job anywhere in the U.S. How do I get started? And it took us months to find him a job. He applied to like 50 or 100 companies to get him a job.
So why is that? Why do you think that is? It's because agencies don't want to hire? I mean,
part of it is we are conservative by nature. I think it's a little easier on the agency and broker space. I live largely on the carrier space. So I think insurance people are conservative by nature, and all decisions get made by committee, and that just slows things down, right? I think another piece of it is the applicant tracking systems that the larger carriers have, and probably some of the larger brokers. Most resumes get lost in the shuffle of the black hole that is the applicant tracking system. Mm-hmm. So we end up scaring a lot of people away, basically, by being bad at hiring.
Yeah, so we're bad at hiring. So that's one issue. Let me ask you this now: has the shift, in the last year to going to more work from home? Do you think there's going to be more interest from talent now that there's a flexibility kind of benefit within the industry? Or do you think that's just all part of it?
It'll definitely help us retain talent more than attract talent. Now, it could help us attract talent if we got in front of it and started advertising the fact that, hey, you know what? Insurance is a work-from-home industry. There is no job or almost no job in this industry that you can't do from home. So even if we ask you to come into the office a few times a week at the beginning while you get trained, afterwards you'll be able to work from home. And we start advertising that, yeah, we'll attract some talent for sure. And it'll definitely help us retain talent that is in our industry and is not yet fully committed. Any other industry they look at in the future that tells them, you need to be in the office 5 days a week, is helping us retain them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And so I
wanted to ask real quick, Tony, because you talked about that we're bad at hiring. Why do you think we're bad at hiring? Is there a disconnect between what we're looking for and what's available, or is there a disconnect in how we're asking?
When it comes to experienced people, there's definitely a disconnect, right? Everybody wants a purple squirrel. Everybody wants somebody. Again, it goes back to the conservative nature of insurance people and how all decisions get made by committee. So if I want a middle market underwriter, chances are who I'm thinking of is somebody who has already been a middle market underwriter successfully for many years. That's who that's who I'm looking for. That person doesn't exist. If it did, I couldn't afford them. Right. So in the experience side of the industry, that's the problem. We want somebody who has already done specifically what we want them to do, instead of looking at transferable skill sets. And at the entry level, we write job descriptions that are unreadable to normal humans. Right. And that's why Insurance Nerds has the world's simplest insurance glossary, which I wrote to translate insurance to English. Because how is if you're in college right now and you're not a risk management major and you're looking at job postings in your college's system, you have no idea what the insurance jobs are about because we speak our own language. And I've been saying that for years, but it's very hard to change, right? If you want the claims adjuster, an entry-level claims adjuster, you should probably be saying, your job is helping people get back on their feet after a car accident by investigating and paying, basically. If you want an agent, you should translate it to the same sort of language. Your job is to help people find the right auto or homeowners or commercial insurance for their needs, right? How can you put it in a language that people that don't yet speak insurance can understand?
Yeah, and we have to look at this situation. I mean, this has been decades that we've been doing things basically the same way. We knew at some point this curve was going to start really affecting us with technology kind of making its way slowly into our industry. But I mean, if we look at it from a kind of a macro level, insurance sales, that's the revenue driver for a lot of businesses. I mean, a lot of agencies. But marketing is such a huge aspect of it. Marketing is everything. So when you're looking at, okay, where are we right now, Tony? I know you mentioned this recently in a survey that was done. What are we looking at right now in terms of like the top 2 or 3 sectors that really need?
I don't remember by memory, but actuarial and technology are
actuarial and technology. Right?
Those are always hard to find. Claims is always hard to find too. Patrick Callahan, my good friend and fellow CPCU, Patrick Callahan, had a good question. We hired thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of young people into entry-level jobs every year. But those entry-level jobs, so we're good at bringing them in. But those entry-level jobs, chances are crappy jobs. They're crappy jobs that can lead to a great career, right? The entry-level claims job at the State Farm building here in Atlanta is a crappy job. Same thing with your personal lines agents at State Farm or at Nationwide or at any of the big carriers where all you do is make outbound phone calls trying to sell personalized insurance with no differentiation at all and bad pricing, and for a single company, not even a bunch of different companies where you can really fit people to the right place. Those are crappy jobs, but they can lead to great careers. And where we miss the boat is we don't help the new employee understand, either during the hiring process, during the orientation, or even after they start, the amazing careers that they can have here, and even less how to get to those places. So yeah, how do you fix that? How do you fix the fact that entry-level jobs are crappy, but the long-term careers are great?
Great question. I think that's a good question for the insurance why. Maybe we'll bring him in at some point to comment on that.
That's the whole reason we built Insurance Nerds. The whole idea was we were seeing we thought it was a nationwide insurance problem. Turns out it's a nationwide with little n problem. It's an everybody problem. We were seeing tons of young college grads. This was 2009, 2010. They were in a call center with a college degree, doing a job that was really designed for a high schooler and metaphorically chained to their desk. And they were leaving to go to industries that are not as good industries, right? They were leaving to go to the Wells Fargo building in Des Moines, is where I was at. Much better career if you stay, but they had no idea about that. So that's why we started in Insurance Nerds to get them excited and give them the tools and the mentorship to get to the better roles.
You know, I love, Tony, that you had to actually you had to qualify that by saying metaphorically chained to their desk.
In the U.S., we're not allowed to physically chain them to their desks, but we do our best to get as close as we can.
100%.
Always fun to listen to you, buddy. Tony, we really appreciate you being here. You have a really strong skill in being able to motivate people. And I'm just going to end this conversation real quick with a comment that Juan Lopez made, which is we got to figure out ways to portray our personalities better. And I think that's done by and large a lot with what Jag's doing and Juan's doing, because we have to get the perception that we're an old man, traditional insurance and agency, where this is really for everybody. What does the face of insurance look like now? What are the personalities in your agency or Alex's agency? Because that's really what's going to resonate with people. And then I think that's going to be the difference maker, I think.
I agree completely. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure. I'm guessing if somebody logged in specifically to see me, they know about Insurance Nerds, but otherwise, insurancenerds.com. Check out our podcast, Risk. And if you want career advice, chatwithtony.com.
Yeah, we were gonna plug your book as we're going off here, so you got the plug coming in just a second. Thank you, Tony.
Appreciate you, brother.
Take care.
Man, that was pretty great. That went everywhere, right? And I think it leads into that question that we talked about. He talked about that disconnect between what folks think versus what it is. So let me pop that bad boy up. So this is yeah,
please do, because I want folks to get a look at this. He wrote this book 6 years ago.
About that time. It's about that time. Insuring Tomorrow. It's a great read. I'll be honest with you. It's been a while since I read a book that I just started reading and kept wanting to keep going. And I love this particular part of it where basically Tony asks at his different meetings, all the millennials in the room, so what did you think about the industry before someone got them interested in? And he made a word cloud of all the words that he basically got. And this is what it was. Boring, office space, thieves, suits. I want to know who answered leeches.
Yeah, dumb. Dumb's a fun one too. But you see the most pronounced answer there, which is boring. And that goes back to what we're just talking about. Like, we have to change the perception. And now, because we're such a visual business mindset now, like everything we do is predominantly visual. Otherwise, you're not really connecting with folks. And we have to change that perception by focusing and presenting the personalities that are in this industry.
And that's what it is. A lot of it, sometimes it starts at different places. Tony also mentioned talking about high school and colleges and the way that is. And our next guest, is known throughout the industry for being passionate about pointing college students towards the industry and helping them see all of the potential that our industry has. And now is doing some amazing work from the perspective of learning about what folks are expecting when they get into the role, and then keeping that are we actually fulfilling what the expectation we created at Virtual Inc. So Noelle Codispoti, is amazing to have you here today.
Oh, thanks for having me, and I'm so glad I decided to wear my red glasses because I didn't think.
Alex did not get the memo.
Tony and I coordinate outfits, but I didn't have any brain shirts, so I went with the red glasses.
I got a Charlie Waffle shirt on today.
The only thing I thought of was to wear the superhero suit. That was the only thing that next time I gotta check the emails a little bit better.
Well, thanks so much for being here today. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Absolutely. I love the title Chief Transformation Officer. There is no more of a 2021 title better than that. And I just, the more I read about you, the more I want to learn about your history and just the moves you've been making to really take like you said in your business model, take ideas and really make them into something impactful. And without that, with that, I should say, what can I ask you right off the top? What does transformation look like for you right now? With most of the engagement kind of happening virtually because of, this crazy year.
Yeah, well, I think with the crazy year and, folks talked about, Tony's always been on this work from home and making sure we're promoting that in our industry. And now we've all had to do it. Working from home has allowed us all to be our more authentic self, right? And not only that, but it has forced companies to recognize what that authentic piece of you really is, whether it's your kids popping in or dogs, or the fact that you have other schedules that you have to maintain. And then on the reverse, right? Learning what our managers and bosses and chief executives are doing behind the scenes at their houses too. Transformation has always really been about that authenticity dividend, that authenticity impact. And in fact, a couple years ago, I think it's about 6 years, I was working with a group of students and we were talking about their voice and how it champions diversity and inclusion efforts. And that word authenticity was so important in the development of the group that we did, because to them, to the young people that were in college then, authenticity and diversity were synonymous, right? Diversity, I think, has changed kind of definitions as you move down generationally. And, for them, diversity was all of their authentic selves. So it's nice to see in this past year and maybe probably 18 months, the idea of authenticity, being your authentic self, a company being able to showcase its authentic self, the way Juan was talking about, it really is important as what will drive transformation.
And based on that, I think I'd like to ask, I know you guys did an authenticity survey. Mm-hmm. Would you mind sharing a little bit about what that was going on with that?
Yeah, so you know what? It's not closed yet, so I'm not going to report any official findings. But really, this survey is designed to engage with people who have just recently changed jobs, just entered the industry, to get at the non-transactional piece, the not where did you find your job, were you at a career fair, who was there, really about when you talk to the recruiter, when you read the job description, when you interview with the middle manager, did all of those things line up to what you eventually experienced? And, because we've heard from students, company X told us this. When I got there, that's not the way it was. So I think they lied to me. I was like, I don't think they're lying to you. I think their words mean something different, right? And so what we're finding is that it really depends on the company's journey in their own development of their authenticity, their brands, a lot of the things Juan talked about, and whether or not those job changers or early entry candidates feel that it was an authentic experience. And then that's where our company comes in now on the company side rather than the student side, is working with them at every step of the way in that whole talent journey, that whole talent roadmap, to ensure that there's authentic engagement, because we really do feel as though you shouldn't just bring somebody in and then leave in 2 or 3 years, or them not feel like it's the right fit coming in. We want to promote increased job hiring and also retention within companies.
A friend of mine was telling me this week, he's an agency owner, and they were looking at a new hire, and he did his series of interviews, but then he brought his team in to also have conversations with the new candidate. And I thought that was, I have not yet heard somebody doing that, where it's not just a hire for me as the owner. Right. I want to see if you're gonna gel with the culture that's already here. Yeah. And I thought that was a really interesting way to start connecting those dots. Listen to what you're saying, like Tony was saying, it's just taking forever to hire. So there's some kind of disconnect there. There's some dots that aren't aligned, or some lines that are not meshing here. Is it because agencies or people on the insurance side don't understand the priorities of this new talent and what they're really looking for, or haven't created the culture? Or what do you
Yeah, well, I have a lot of thoughts. I will happily say it out loud. I am a millennial. I'm on the upper age range of millennials, and I've been in the industry with internships for nearly 20 years, right? So if we haven't figured out how to engage millennials based on the millennial stereotype in 20 years, and we're still talking about it, well, there's a problem. I'll let you know on a little secret. You may know it, but this industry is so reluctant to change anything that we tend to come up with more excuses for why we don't do things than actually doing them, right? And Tony alluded to a couple of them, or said a couple of them directly. When we want to hire entry-level talent, we've often heard, even with the risk management programs, oh, well, I don't need a risk management major. I don't need an actuarial major. I can teach anybody this business. Just get me a good candidate. Okay, we can do that. But then when you get to the experienced hires, it's, oh, I can't teach anybody this industry. I need somebody who's already done it with this very specific skill set. God forbid they didn't do statutory accounting at their old firm. I got to have a statutory accountant right now. And it's kind of interesting, right? Because surveys, Deloitte, McKinsey, everybody, that it'll say like 4% of millennials, and I even hate talking about them now because it's 20 years old, but 4% of millennials were only interested in insurance before, when they take these surveys. That's not a lot of millennials to want to come into insurance. But then when you start talking to students, career changers, millennials, Gen Z, anybody about the opportunity that, meeting the Juans and Tonys, and they're sharing their stories. And then you say we're projected to have 2.5% unemployment in this industry. We're a recession-proof industry. And that's a number I pull from Jacobson's surveys, or the whatchamacallit survey they just did. These are all things that people care about. You can't meet a Tony or a Juan, or actually lots of other people I see in the comments and who are watching, and not really get excited about the industry. And so it's so valuable for something like the Insurance Scramble, or those individuals out there championing what's fun and exciting, because it is. And I've never met a college student who you sit them down and tell them about your story and tell them about unemployment, the unemployment numbers in insurance, and then what you could make, and then say, oh, sorry, I want to be unemployed and keep trying to be a art history curator. That doesn't make any sense.
It's unbelievable, because it's such a generational problem that, I'm a Gen Xer. So it was an issue when I was, when I came on early. Millennials, it's been an issue for the whole 20 years. Now we're in Gen Z, where we're still having problems changing the perception of what we do and who we are, what you can make, the career you can have, the flexibility you can have, the very likely you're going to maintain for a long time if you just do a decent job. But there's so many avenues that you can contribute to.
Well, it's funny. So
yeah.
So Noelle, you mentioned it now, and in kind of indirectly, and it was a big mention in the book too. By the way, one of the coolest things about the Insurance Nerds book is that it makes me a millennial. So if you want to feel like you're a millennial and you were born in the late 70s, buy the insurance.
I think they rounded down for you.
It's possible. But one of the topics was that there's a different language that is being spoken, and not just the insurance language that we're accustomed to having to explain to third parties all the time, but literally, like you indicated, authenticity means something different to a Gen Z or a Gen Y millennial than it does to a Gen X or a boomer. And so sometimes, we're using these same terms that we think have the same connotations to the individuals we're talking to, but we're definitely not getting the message across. One of them that I thought was interesting was a definition of loyalty. In the book, it mentions that the loyalty to a boomer is staying with a company for 30 years. Loyalty to a millennial might be giving 110% for the time you're at the job. Mm-hmm. Which both are good and solid definitions of loyalty. But if you're not addressing the one that they're expecting, then you're going to be disappointed when they give you 110%, but they decide to go elsewhere because you didn't give them, say, growth opportunities, because that's what they were looking for.
Well, yeah, and that's when communication and transparency come right back into the equation. And in fact, it's funny that we talk about communicating and transparency and all of that, because it's not different for any generation. Sometimes if I'm talking to a room, I'll say, and we were talking about millennials, I'll say, raise your hand if you don't think you deserve a raise or a promotion. Well, because we'll accuse millennials of wanting so much so quickly, and they'll come right out and say it. But meanwhile, their generational counterparts are sitting there also thinking they need a raise and a promotion, but millennials may have just asked for it a little sooner or more outspoken, right? And so, I think we've also spent a lot of time as an industry trying to figure out other generations and talent, but we haven't reflected enough internally to our companies, which is why, my friend Charlotte and I started Verito, right? Is it's time that we actually look at ourselves. And thankfully the last year, if there's a silver lining, it's that all companies had to start hearing their employee voice a little louder and making sure that they were listening to it. And if we're not every day using that going forward, if we're not going into our business resource groups or employee resource groups and asking them about their views on our products and hiring and clients, and we're just top down coming, with more rules and processes and changes that, people that have been in the business 40 years think are good, then we're not really using our human people that we have at our companies to their full advantage. And that voice is critical. And when you feel like you're part of, you feel like you belong, you feel like you've contributed, no better feeling and wanting to stay at a company and increase those retention numbers. So it's basic human principles that we fail to apply that really fix all of these issues: transparency, communication, authenticity, respect, self-awareness.
Thank you, Noelle. Thank you for Noelle and for Verito for reminding us that we just need to follow that KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. We're trying too hard.
I can't do any KISS songs, by the way.
Oh, too bad.
My friend Chris wanted to know if I was going to play any musical instruments, but I am not. Hi, Chris.
What about a little recorder solo? Is that possible?
You know what? I have some kids in the background down the hall here who might sing. I tell them our talents do not lie in the singing or musical instrument areas. So,
well, what you might lack in musical talent, you definitely make up for it being such a strong voice and not only recruiting in this industry, but also diversity and inclusion, which are just amazing work that you're doing. What's the best way for folks to find you and kind of follow what Verito is doing?
LinkedIn's probably the best. We're on LinkedIn and Twitter at Verito LLC and VeritoLLC.com. And my colleague Charlotte and I would try to do a lot of things individually, but check us out. We're just so eager to continue, the journey that we've been on, helping the industry with talent and showing up authentically.
Couldn't thank you enough for your expertise and your time today, Noelle. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me on. This was great.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too.
We always struggle with getting this under 30 minutes because of the quality of people we get on here. And it's just, we could talk forever with them. And but that's what we do. We try to keep it sweet and short and just lots of quality information.
Well, there's just so much to talk about that the industry is there's so much opportunity. There's so many places that you can grow. Think about it. We had a digital director who came into the industry at the entry level, but ended up being the digital director for
admin. Yeah.
Right. We had an individual who's worked at multiple insurance companies and now has a job, not only that he takes on himself and along with a few others to help translate the industry, but also help find people unicorns. And lastly, we have an individual whose sole focus is helping the industry understand itself better. Like these are three really diverse roles within the industry.
Thank God they're all doing that, because I can't imagine they're pushing it forward at warp speed, and that's hard for an insurance industry professional to push anything forward at a nice
at
pace.
Any speed, right,
at any speed. But the fact that we have them doing this, we're so grateful for them and the great work that they do, because they're the leaders, the emerging leaders that are. I think a lot of new talent's going to want to follow and just follow in the footsteps of.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we're
always over time, aren't we?
A little bit. Be ready for us on the 19th. We'll be back for another Insurance Scramble Live. But until then, Ed, this one's for you, buddy.
Just when you think this show is terrible, something wonderful happens. What? It ends.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Why? Because we love you.